Hello, January 2nd, fixvirus Security Show. We have made it to the new year. So first we will start with the news of the day. Alright, in the news of the day, we're still preparing for the new year. We're getting everything ready. There's a good article in Dark Reading, an Information Week blog section. You know, the Information Week used to be a weekly magazine that we used to get years past. Now it's online, and they have a few good places on their website. This is a good article by Jeff Schilling. He was a cybersecurity operations center director for the U.S. Army, and he's also a CSO at Firehose at this time. So he says that there are 5 pitfalls to avoid when running your own security operations center. I mean, you can read through all 5 of them, but I want to focus on number 5. He says, when you protect everything, in most cases, you're protecting nothing. Since the threat actors are only interested in 2% of your data or infrastructure, they're trying to get to that 2% by hacking the 98% first. So some innovators have segmented their networks and made the 2% of their infrastructure that much more to get at, that much harder to get at. So they're aggressively segmenting their networks and moving their most valued data, applications, and VIP users to a more hardened, protected infrastructure. Most of our clients are moving their difficult to protect and regulated data and applications to hardened cloud providers. So there is a focused effort on guarding these critical assets. So another thing that security operations focuses on is vulnerability management efforts on what is determined as key terrain. You know, and he says the threat playbook has not really changed very much in the last 10 years because threat actors do the same thing. They're trying to compromise a host, elevate privileges, and then look for opportunities to use the victim's infrastructure against them. They're always trying to get to that 2% of the infrastructure that has all the important data. So this is really good here. This list is not comprehensive, but that's where we focus our time and effort. Our goal is to protect our critical assets, quickly know when they have been compromised, and respond with immediate action to contain and eradicate the threat. If anyone believes they're going to create the perfect secure environment, let me save you some pain and discovery. It does not exist. However, if you can narrow your attack surface through smart, secure operations that fully integrate the right people, the right processes, and good technology, then you drive up the skill required by an attacker to the point where most threat actors will give up and go after easier, softer targets. That is the news of the day. Okay. So now in the tip of the day, I wanted to go over a Netcat use that we use Netcat for a variety of things, you know, and one of them is banner grabbing. Well, why would you want to use banner grabbing? Well, first of all, we gotta scan your network. A hacker will scan your network. They'll use nmap commands. TCP/UDP is the protocol and the ports 1 through 65,536. So that's they'll use Nmap first, and then they will use, in the vulnerability assessment section of their attack, they will use Netcat. Sorry about that. Anyway, so like a hacker will check for port 80 or port 25 or port something, and they'll use wget or Netcat to do a banner grab. And I wanted to discuss kind of what that is. So there are a couple of good tutorials on Netcat on the internet. But basic banner grabbing, upon making a connection to an HTTP server or a web server, a web client will send a request to download a web page. Like, for example, when you're going to my website, fixvirus.com, your browser will ask to download the root document, but otherwise known as / the root document, the main document. And then provide the version of the protocol that it's using. And that's why they call it the wget command, because it comes back with get HTTP 1.0 or 1.1, depending on what the server is doing. So the web server will take this request and locate the file requested and send it back to the client. Now, if you were a internet information server or a Windows server, then you would return default.html. If it's a Unix, then it would return index.html. Well, default.htm, sorry. There's no L at the end of the Windows. So what we specifically care about is the banner. Because in the banner, there is information that we can find out what kind of machine is running. And it tells us which version of the software is running on this machine. So why would we want to do this? Well, if we know which version of software is running on that machine, then we can create a specific attack for that version of software. So what I recommend is you do your own banner grabbing, and then with that, you can then figure out how to change the banner on the website that you've got and replace the default banner with something else, so that way, at least to give a more confusing picture to the attacker, so that way it takes them a little bit longer to set up their attack. That's what my recommendation is. And tip of the day, change the banner on your web server, or all the different applications that you're running on the internet, that you have to run on the internet. Thank you.